So I teach social studies. But I think that the discussion debate format can be used in a bunch of different disciplines. And a lot of what I do is using primary text to support that dialogue, especially is history. So we go along in the content, and when we come upon something in history that is controversial, then that's something that I usually introduce primary source documents for, and then give the kids a chance to work their way through it, read and analyze, and then we bring it to a discussion. So the presentation that I'm going to give is based in what I'm planning to do next week with my U.S. history students. We're wrapping up World War II. So the controversial topic we're going to be talking about is whether or not it was justified for the U.S. to drop the bombs on Japan to end the war. So I have two primary source documents for the justified and the not justified. And for this one, I let kids pick their position because it's definitely the most sensitive topic we'll debate. So I'll kind of show you how I work through that, and then if we can work to apply it to anything that you're doing, if that sounds good.
Yep.
Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up some slides. Give me one. Okay, can you see it?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. So a big thing, like I said, I use discourse and debate a lot to help go deeper into content that we're talking about. And I found that debates is a really great way to do that. But like I said, it can also be applied to just discussion format as well. So I'm just going to walk you through what I'm planning to do for next week. Also, if you have any feedback that you think would be helpful for me as I continue to plan, I would definitely welcome that as well. So the first slide that I have is the graphic organizer that I use. So my students have used this a lot. I introduced this a while ago to them using something really simple. Like I gave them a short half-page article from somebody saying that homework is good for students. And I had them read the article and then fill out this graphic organizer just as practice on how to do it, because it helps them organize their thoughts and organize where their position is and how they can use their information to help them in their discussion or their debate. So their claim is just what they're arguing. There's boxes for reasons of just this is why my claim is right, or this is why I think what I think. Supporting evidence is where they specifically cite the text. And then the counter argument is where they prepare for what somebody else might say from the opposing side, or just any other point. A way you could format this for just discussion would be somebody might ask this question, and here's a follow-up question that I would have to that, or here's a response or something that I could add to that question. It's just a way to anticipate what other people would say. In a debate, you always want to do some opposition research so you can better defend your argument, but it's also a way to think deeper and to continue the conversation if it were to be just for a discussion. And then so I just kind of, here's
you can't see, can you?
What's that? No, I can't. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
Yeah, but you probably can't see because this is your screen. You can't.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you do all of that all in one class session?
No. No.
You break that over the 2 days.
Yes. So in person, usually what I will do is I will kind of wrap up the overall, this is what we're talking about. I gave them a wrap-up lecture of the end of World War II, as well as the decision to drop the bombs in a video lecture. And of course, normally I do that in person. And then I would introduce their debate topic to them. And I do that with their primary source documents. So this is one example for it's not justified. So the directions are on there. And then it goes into here's the actual primary source. So for this one, it's an op-ed in a magazine that was published shortly after the bombs were dropped. And so this would be the source that they would use. And then this graphic organizer would be on the back of that primary source. So they would read this, and then they would fill, I'm getting confused. They would fill this out. So either they would be, it was justified, and then they would use that it was justified primary source, or that it was not justified. And then they would use that one to fill this out. Okay. So I usually, in person, if we were in class, I would give them between 2 and 3 days, depending on reading the room of the students to see how well they were doing. For easier debates, they probably only need 2 days prep for it. But for a more complex debate like this one, I would probably give them an extra day in person. For an electronic debate to prepare, I'm giving them almost 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Because because I'm sure like you're in the same spot that I'm in, where a lot of kids are having a really hard time for a multitude of different reasons. Like they have to work, they have to take care of family, they have issues with technology access. So it's trying to present as equitable of a platform as I can given the circumstances. One of the ways that I'm adjusting this activity to online learning is by giving them extra time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And feel free to cut me off whenever.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I said, there's one primary source document for each side. And then the other thing I added is just the way I grade it. So I have what I'm looking for, which is mainly just, are you being civil? Are you not yelling over each other? Are you helping your peers? And then are you citing your text? And are you able to like work collaboratively and go deep in content? That's kind of what I'm looking for. The big point of this activity usually is the primary source reading and actually talking about the content. The discussion is more the fun part of it for them. But the second part that's really important that I want to point out on this slide is the alternate assignment. So I always give an alternate assignment for debates just in case a kid was absent, or like I have some kids that freeze up when they have to speak in front of their peers and it's just too hard for them. So I give them that alternate option. And it's going to be even more important in this setting, just because some kids may not be able to make the time slot that we have for our class, or their technology isn't working very well, or they just don't like to be in front of a camera, things like that. Any questions?
Nope.
All right.
Wait,
So,
wait. Do you
what's that?
do you have a method of ensuring that if a student is muting themselves and turning off the camera, that they're actually there and listening instead of like walking off and just pretending like they're actually
Yes. Yeah,
listening?
that is definitely something that I've been trying to work with. It is definitely hard to tell. And I do like to give students the option to be able to blank the screen, because I know some kids don't like being in front of the camera. They don't want like that, their home space being seen. So I always give them that option. But for this, the comments are something I'm trying to really actually use, of not only to just determine like which kid's going to speak next, but also like, here's a question I would like the opposition to answer, or here's a follow-up that I have for this person's question. So even if they don't want their faces to be shown, or they don't want to take their camera off mute, I can still make sure they're being accountable in the comments. So using that's what I'm hoping will be effective for that.
Cool.
So the things to consider, like I've done these debates. I love these activities. They tend to go really well. And kids tend to actually really like them. But it's just the changing and formatting it to be able to work online. So some things that I've been considering, which is kind of what we talked about, a few of these, is choice being extra important. And so like I always give an alternate essay, but I know that a lot more kids are going to opt to write the essay than they normally do, just because of the timing, because of the technology, because of, global pandemic. I'm giving them those alternate ways to access it. So yeah, that's going to be a really big important one. And then, like we talked about, kids are going to need extra prep time. So, I usually give maybe 2 to 3 days to prepare. In this instance, it's almost, most of last week and most of most of last week and most of this week. And then their debate will be on one of those days. And a lot of this is, we don't have classes every single day of the week, but it's probably almost double the time that I normally give them. So they can be extra prepared, so they can reach out to friends for help if they need to. Just giving them that time. Also, extra scaffold supports for individual student needs. Of course, this is something we always do in general, but making sure to know, we all know our kids. And so knowing that this kid struggles with this reading, here I can give them an altered text so that it's easier for them to understand. Like there's one kid I know I need to do that for. Or making sure that students who may not have access to that technology have an alternate thing that they can do, so they don't miss out on the opportunity or miss out on any points or anything like that. Probably more important online for these type things than it is in the person ones. And also, like we talked about, the chat feature being used for structure and timing, and also for accountability. I think that's a really good point that you brought up, of using that to help structure who's going to talk next, and then giving kids a chance to follow up with something somebody else said. So that's about all I have. I was hoping for a little bit of a chance to do some discussion and see if you had any feedback or questions or anything like that. So yeah.
You're seriously doing an essay in this
What's
whole
that?
thing. You're seriously doing an essay. Give me some right now.
It's kind of an essay. I would say probably it's not longer than a page. I know, I see the faces, but I'm also.
I'm just okay. I'm worried about the not ELL students, but I'm scared for the ELL students right now.
So probably a way you could structure that is, again, with the scaffolds and the individual supports of giving students, like, I'm planning on giving some kids just turning in that graphic organizer for those points. So by just filling out the graphic organizer, that can work for a lot of kids. My U.S. history classes have been pretty good about communicating what they're needing and what they think they can do. So a lot of this is, here's like the format, here's the frame, but it can be tweaked for any individual kid in any individual circumstance or class. And it definitely would probably need to be tweaked a lot for different type classes like ELL versus a gen ed social studies class.
Yeah, because I would.
Is that helpful?
To do that. Even for my like advanced students.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that. Absolutely.
What are you guys getting for attendance in your classes right now? Because mine are not very well attended. And so, having a big group discussion on something is not something that looks like I'm going to have a lot of buy-in for most of my classes. But I am getting more kids doing the work I'm assigning. So, yeah, doing some kind of graphic organizer or something like that could be helpful, I imagine.
Yeah, so mine last week was probably maybe about 50 to 60%. So pretty low.
I got about 25.
Okay. But this week I've actually had a lot more kids reach out. So it's probably, I don't know, I haven't counted, but I've had a decent amount more kids come up. So I'm targeting this activity with my one U.S. history class first, because I only have one U.S. history class. So it's kind of also like a trial run for them to see how well it works. This is an activity they're pretty used to doing. And they're also getting a lot of prep time, and I'm communicating with them individually. So if it's not something you've done before, it's definitely going to need a lot more prep work. And what do you teach again?
Oh, I teach technology, electronics, robotics, computer science. So we're doing a lot more technical type stuff in there. But, some of the things that I've thought about doing just as assignments to try and get kids engaged is giving them an article to read, like what you're doing there, that's a current relevant tech topic or something like that, putting it up in Classroom. And then having them, because you can enable comments on Classroom. It's a little sketchy, depending on what level of kids you got or kind of what the rapport is that you have there. But you can moderate and eliminate stuff. But have them, write a comment about the article, what they thought, and then respond. But then, you could use this once they've put something out there. Hey, this is what I thought of the article, or this was something that I did, or maybe I followed this web link to learn more about it. But then use this kind of meet as a way to bring all those thoughts together and say, okay, hey, did you see this link, or did you go and have the kids share out in a, or respond to those other resources or other things that their peers found. So.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Like I said, I think the biggest things for cross-disciplinary would be that prep time and like the scaffold. So like having the articles present before and giving them a chance to engage with it before doing that. I think that's a great idea. Yeah. So I think we're getting about 4:20. Do you have one more question?
Oh, we got 1 minute.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I hope that was helpful. So if anybody wanted to see any of the other materials that I use, I'm more than happy to email that out. Just if you want to see like a basis to mold your own or anything like that, again, just let me know and I'm happy to send it out. So again, thank you so much for coming. It was great to see you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing.
You guys.
Bye.